Here we are, guys. Here we are. Welcome to the One Love Community live stream from the heart. My name is Dookie. I go by Cam most places. Today we're talking with Bobafett. And with us is Dev Deckard Kane. It was a bit of a day. I had thought I was going to have a really nice intro for you, worded out, but you had an event that I really want to hear about. What happened, man? I hear you just about died.
Yeah, within a second, maybe even less than a second. So I'd just gone down to the local shopping centre, and just a small shop. And with the lockdown restrictions at the moment, cafes, restaurants can only do takeaway. So, and it's funny, I drink long black, so no dairy, no sugar. And interestingly, maybe just doing a lot of brain drain stuff, but I needed a sugar fix. So I got a chai latte, something I don't normally do. And because there's nowhere to sit or anything, around the shopping centre, you've got areas with those metal benches, like bus stop type benches. And so I sat down, I'm right on the edge of it, and I'm just sitting there drinking my chai latte. And all of a sudden, this red car just comes smashing through the Perspex barricade and plows straight into the bench that I was sitting on. Now, I mean, from my previous, like my past, like I do have like very good reflexes, lightning fast reflexes. But even still, I'm thinking maybe even divine intervention is what could have saved my life today. Because as this car crashed through the barricade, coming straight to the bench I'm sitting on, my legs were dangling over. And I can provide you with some photos that I took of exactly where I was sitting. The car smashed into the corner, and there was no thinking involved. There was no thought process. This is pure reaction. I'm sitting on the edge of the bench. I actually turned this way, threw myself onto my back with my legs in the air. And then as my legs came back down again, my feet landed on the bonnet of the car. I think you guys use hood. I think the front of the car. Sounds like you guys say trunk. We say boot for some reason for a trunk. But yeah, so my feet came down on to the bonnet of this car.
Oh my God.
And if you'll see in the photos, like 1 second later, I would have had both legs amputated at the knees and probably would have bled out before an ambulance arrived. So with less than a second in reflexes here, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. So yeah, that was, and this is at lunchtime. And interestingly enough, anyone who knows me knows I'm very anti-tyranny, especially all the lockdowns and all that sort of stuff. But the area where he smashed through the Perspex barricade and plowed into the bench, if we weren't in lockdown, like that area is full, it's got all the umbrellas, because we're in spring now, it's quite sunny, and that area is full of tables and chairs. And this is about 1 o'clock, so 1 p.m. So it would have been packed with people having lunch, coffees, and so forth in this area. He probably would have plowed through maybe 5 or 6 people if we weren't in lockdown at the moment. So that's a blessing in a sense in that as well. That I mean, we're talking families, kids, and all sorts of stuff. And the path he went through, he would have cleaned up 1 or 2 tables of people on his way through before he smashed into the metal bench that I was sitting on. So wow. I had a bit of an adrenaline surge from that. And actually, people came rushing out of the cafe and like totally ignored this guy. He's still sitting in his car with the foot on the accelerator. So I don't know what his story was.
Really? Oh, he must have had some sort of medical problem or something.
Yeah. I
it
showed you like a
happened.
photo of him earlier. He did look like he wasn't running on all cylinders. But yeah, everyone came rushing out of the cafe and the shopping centre there and like straight to me. And Tony was like, "You okay? You okay? You okay?" Because I guess from their perspective, from the window we're looking in, they would have just, as I went back on the bench, they would have just seen me disappear as this car smashed into the bench I was sitting on. And so within 2 minutes, there's 20, 30 people all around taking photos. And it's just, I mean, I'm a vlogger, video. I think it was like 5 minutes after the event before it even occurred to me. It's like, oh, I should take some photos. It was just, not the first thing on my mind at the time.
No, it's and this is where I'm actually really amazed with those guys that are out there and they record absolutely everything, like every aspect, to have that consciousness to be able to actually think, I need to record this while you're dealing with a life event. Like there's a little bit of stupidity in it, pulling out your camera to record the car as it's coming at you. But after the
fact, there would have been no time. Like we're talking,
exactly.
The crash of the boundary, probably 1 second from that crashing noise before he actually hit the bench I was on. And like I said, even though I have really good reflexes, I think there's some level of divine intervention involved in me not being, and might have even been a bit of teleporting involved. I just don't know. People even said how on earth did you do that? People were stunned at how I did not get crushed by this car. It was one of those things. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming and saving yourself yesterday, sharing your story today. I share it.
So it's 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday here, and it happened at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So as I said, I had a bit of an adrenaline crash about 3 hours ago. I mean, adrenaline wore off obviously ages ago, but just the crash, it was like, whoa. So I think I've used up my adrenaline for a little while.
Well-deserved crash. Allow yourself to mellow out and revel in the silver lining that COVID brought to you amongst all this chaos. Now, you're from down under. You're in Australia. You've been talking a lot about
I'm in the worst place in Australia at the moment. I'm in Melbourne, Victoria, which is, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, like Rebel News, The Real Rukshan, alternative media. And I even saw in one of our protest events on David Icke, Jeff Berwick's been covering it. So international people right now know more about what's going on in Melbourne than the average Aussie, because it's a complete media blackout. If you haven't heard of Rebel News, there's The Real Rukshan and Avi Yamani. They have YouTube channels as well, but they're the main two reporters for Rebel News in Australia. And their channel's just full of absolute police brutality. I mean, police are opening fire on peaceful protesters sitting down with their arms linked, singing the national anthem, and the police opened fire on them with rubber bullets and tear gas. And as the crowd's running away, they actually ran through a park. You can see the footage on Rebel News, the police literally following, hunting them through the park, shooting at them as they're running away. There's a really good scene. There was this 70-year-old woman got pushed down to the ground, and she was literally just there. Now, she was standing. She wasn't doing. One cop pushes her down to the ground on her back, and then 2 separate officers come up and pepper spray her in the face at point blank range. 2 of them, 70-year-old woman. None of that has been shown on Australian media. It's only on the international news clips at the moment. So look, I would say the majority of people in Australia who just watch the news have no idea what's really going on. And the lamestream media here, like Channel 7 covered a short, bit of the protest, and it was so like not what was really going on. They must have spent quite a lot of time editing their full footage to come up with a couple of clips. And so in the news, we were labelled, protesters labelled as neo-Nazis, right-wing extremists, troublemakers, angry young men. But who these people were the unemployed construction workers and healthcare workers who've been told no jab, no job. So the actual protest was against the medical apartheid system that we now have in Australia, where you can't get a job unless you're vaccinated. So that's what the protests were about. And on the news, mainstream media, it was like, oh, they're the anti-lockdown, anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers, and just a few clips that really did not show what's really going on. It was quite, in fact, just a lot of people must be waking up. And with these numbers, I don't know how many people are in Australia and how many people are international, but the main protest in the city on Monday, I think it was, we had like 12 to 15,000 people marching through Melbourne. The clips that they showed on the news, the angle, they said like a few hundred right-wing extremists, neo-Nazis, angry young men, anti-vaxxers, but it was approximately 15,000 people. And you see that on Rebel News with their coverage. So the mainstream media is really covering up what's really going on here.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed quite a few creators that are based in Australia that typically don't cover topics like this have started covering things that are way outside. Like one lady, she's 22 years old, and she's a health kick person, all about empowering, and all her videos are about her and her body and how to make your body as good as hers, that kind of thing. And
is that Natalie?
Yeah, there you go. And she switched to now covering this topic because, as she put it, she has no choice. That's scary. That as a creator, she can't continue creating the content she wants. She's forced to actually address this topic.
Yeah, and like saying with the coverage, Channel 7 did a short live stream. Channel 7's the lame stream, and during the live streaming of the protests, and so I don't know how many of these numbers are international, how many Australian, but Rebel News had 62,000 people watching live. Channel 7, the mainstream, had 4,500 people watching. So people are really getting sick of the lies that's coming from the mainstream media. So if it's a wake-up situation, there's another possible silver lining in what's happening. But the brutality of the police, and on that day and the day after, it was literally a hunt. Anyone, and there's plenty of footage of this you can find too, anyone that was walking in the CBD area that had a high vis on, orange or yellow high vis, just walking along the footpath, suddenly you got 6 or 7 cops just grabbing them, slamming them to the ground, butting, like there's one guy, some cop puts the knee into him 5 times, and then one of the riot squad comes up and smashes him in the back with the butt of his rifle. If that guy's not in hospital now with some kidney damage, I'd be very surprised. And you've probably seen the footage of Flinders Street Station where the cop actually picked that guy up, flipped him and smashed him face first into the ground.
Yeah.
You've seen that one? Yeah. Now, there's no names or anything on the videos, so it's very hard to do actual follow-up on this. But in the Hive Australia on Discord, someone was actually saying that someone they know from the hospital that he died. But again, I can't verify that because I can't follow it up because I've just been checking the news of articles and stuff. There's absolutely nothing about this on the mainstream news.
They'd have labeled it a COVID death anyways.
Yes, well, it would be absolutely.
Yeah, literally, like the COVID statistics over here, if you actually look into how they're counting it, everybody's dying of COVID right now, whether it be from a heart attack or what have you, it's always COVID. So
Yeah,
like,
well, no one died of old age in 2020.
no, and nobody had the flu last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nobody, not a soul. So it's like I get it. Like I get that this is a huge thing, but at least where I am in Canada, we're not having the physical aspect yet, but we very much are having the lamestream media standing in front of burning buildings with mothers and children screaming, going, "This is mostly peaceful protests." And us normal citizens are looking at that going, You're kidding me, right? You seriously don't think we're that dumb? We can look with our own eyes and watch our cities burning, and you're telling us it's fine and nothing's happening. So people having no choice, I feel you there.
Yeah.
It's insanity, but I'm
in fact, after the big protest with the 15,000, there's one thing that did make the news. There was a complete media ban of live streaming, even from the mainstream media. So no helicopters. It was a complete ban on live streaming. To live stream the event, you had to have a permit from the police. And if you obtained the permit, you had to wait 1 hour before you could upload it.
And make sure you check with the Communist Party to make sure what you're talking about is okay.
Yeah, this is total like Bolshevik communism.
And this is Australia, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. This is supposed to be part of the free world.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, this is not the same country that I was from 2 years ago. This is not the same country. The tyranny here is completely next level. In fact, I don't know if you've seen the interview with pardon?
What's with that predator symbol?
I know, right? That is the counter-terrorism unit.
Kind of sounds like the same sort of situation as the anti-fascists. The counter-terrorists are the terrorists, and the anti-fascists are the fascists.
Exactly. The counter-terrorist unit is being used against the people of Victoria. And they've now the counter-terrorism unit has now got a new subdivision called the Fixated Persons Unit. So anyone who's complaining about the lockdown, the mandatory vaxxers, anything at all to do that could slightly be associated with COVID, and posting on social media, because you've probably seen the clips, people are getting arrested, police breaking into their homes, not even knocking, just smashing down the front door, arresting people for posting on Facebook. You've probably seen that clip of the mother with her kids when the cops came in. Anything I say today that you haven't heard of, just let me know. I can provide you with links afterwards. But there was this British undertaker, John Looney. He was interviewed by Max Egan, and the stuff that he's been talking about in the UK is pretty much on par. And he says within the NHS in England, it's quite well known from the insiders' point of view that what's currently being called the Delta variant is actually vaccine injuries. So every time you hear Delta variant, vaccine injury. And after his interview with Max Egan, he was deregulated or debarred, whatever they call it, for Undertakers Association in England. And he's been like an undertaker for 30 years. And some of the points that he brought up with all of these deaths that are being listed in England, they're all like either in hospital or in aged care. So no one's dying at home. So we've got this deadly pandemic, but no one's dying at home. They're all dying in hospital. And one of the things that came out quite early, especially with the elderly that were put into hospital, it doesn't matter, you've got cancer, terminal condition, existing terminal conditions, when they were dying, it was all COVID. But they were putting people on respirators, and those respirators were exploding their lungs. That's what they died of, having their lungs exploded on the respirators. And the reason for this is from government grants in the medical industry. Hospital gets something like $1,200 for every COVID death and about $12,000 for everyone that they need to put on a respirator. So they were just putting everyone on respirators and literally murdering them. And he was covering this, saying the same thing's going on in England. So that's John Looney, O'Looney's unfortunate name for the subject matter. But that video is available on like Odyssey and places like that.
You know, one thing
I'm gonna
that
have
really
to look that up.
one thing that really
I'll
stood
send you a
out to
link.
me, why are we calling people fixated persons? What the hell kind of dehumanizing terminology is that? I know a bunch of people who are quote unquote anti-vaxxers. They're my friends. They're people I know, people I grew up with. Why the hell are we calling people quote unquote fixated persons? Don't fall for this garbage, man. That not specifically you, but anybody listening, this whole redefinition of terms and things, realize what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you see the world differently, to make you hate your brothers and your sisters and your friends. And they're trying to tear you apart by making you use stupid terms.
Yeah, talking of redefinitions, have you seen what's just happened recently, just a couple of days ago in Israel? Tel Aviv was up in rioting simply because, like, Israel in one day went from 80% vaccinated to 20% vaccinated. The reason for that is they changed the definition of vaccinated. So to be vaccinated, you've now got to have had the first 2 shots and 1 booster. So the country's gone from 80% to 20%, and now they've got I think it was yesterday. It's really hard time zones, not knowing what day. Like, it's Wednesday here. A lot of people might be in Tuesday or whatever, but they're now saying you've got to have 4 shots, which is 2 boosters, to be classified as vaccinated. And another scam that they're using to cover the deaths is, if you die within 14 days of getting the jab, you're an unvaccinated death, because it takes 14 days to kick in. So you might have had 2 jabs, 1 booster, but then 3 months later you need your next booster. You go in and you get your 4th booster shot. If you die within 14 days, you're still being classified as an unvaccinated death.
It makes me think of the Project Veritas video that came out about the guy talking about, well, just blow dart everybody, right? That's how the
FDA,
he's
was
the
it FDA?
economist.
Yeah,
he's an economist.
Blow darts. Blow dart everyone. Blow darts.
Injecting people against their will with serums that they don't want? That sounds perfectly illegal. Let's instantiate that into law.
Yeah, and he even said, I think he said, the Johnson & Johnson one is an mRNA, so there's no problem at all with blow darting them with that one.
Hey, they banned the traditional vaccine. They banned it here. They won't let us get it. They'll only let us get the new mRNA vaccines, which begs the question, in a world where we're supposed to have an open market, we're supposed to have choice, why are you taking away 50% of the choice? Especially after they've already started developing it. Then they told them, nope, okay, stop developing it. You just wasted all this money because we have decided that what you have isn't what we want. So what's the deal there? But then moreover, weren't we all sold on the idea that we'd only have to get 2 shots and that there might be 1 booster? We're 2 years in, there's 2 boosters. So I'm going at the rate of a booster per year. So I'm 27 now. So by the time I'm 80, how many boosters do I need?
Yeah, lifetime subscription to Big Pharma.
Nice. That sounds great. No, thank you.
Yeah. And even the ex-vice president of Pfizer, Dr. Michael Yeadon, like, he's got a great video if you've seen that one. And he actually says on there that absolutely no one should be injecting this into their body. And he said that all of the variants, so this is the ex-vice president of Pfizer, all of the variants are nothing less than criminal fraud. And that's his own words. Actually, speaking of doctors, I don't know if I'm not sure of the name. I'll double check and I'll let you know in text if I'm wrong. I think it's Robert Young. And in laboratory conditions, they examine the AstraZeneca, they like pull it apart, lab conditions, microphone, it was 90% graphene.
Jesus.
Let that sink in. For those who don't know, graphene is like a hexagonal, it's the building block for nanotechnology. And you can find videos of graphene in petri dishes when it's exposed to the EMF field of like a phone. And all of a sudden it's like sci-fi stuff, all this blotches start forming, arms, legs, and looking for bits and connecting with each other. I can actually provide you with a video clip if you haven't seen that one or you're having trouble finding. And this is what they're putting into people. So who knows what's going to happen when 5G goes full on with EMF fields when you've got these little nanobots inside your body.
Do you think they could actually just control the element in that way with an electromagnetic field? Like it only takes the element itself to be in your body? Well, I guess then it would be like, okay, you'd only need a future booster shot to get a small amount of, like if you got graphene in your system from those years of COVID shots, and then they're like, okay, we got nanotechnology, let's inject the population. They would only really need to get one nanobot in you that can self-replicate using the graphene, right? If it's the building block, all the other pieces your body creates, I assume how the nanobots would work. Well, it's like that's actually a really concerning thought to entertain.
Mm-hmm. So you combine that nanobot technology with mRNA rewriting your system so that your immune system is going to target your own immune system. This world depopulation agenda isn't such a conspiracy theory anymore when you really look at the scientific facts. And there's that organizer in Germany, there's 100,000 doctors who formed Doctors for Truth or something it's called, because they have no voice. They're being banned on YouTube. They don't get airtime on media. 100,000 doctors all speaking out against this. And when have you ever, actually, here's two things to consider. Every single country in the world is doing exactly the same thing. Here in Melbourne, we were the first ones to go into lockdown. It's okay, just 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It was 6 months, and the draconian measures of the police, it was like the blueprint. So everything they thought, let's check it out here. These guys can't go anywhere. They're on an island. And interestingly, even with the currents are against us. Like if you're in Indonesia, you can just grab hold of anything that floats and you'll end up in the northwest of Australia. But if you're in Australia and you can't float anywhere, you get pushed back. So we were like the blueprint of the tyranny that's coming out.
And that's why it was the prison country way back when, right?
That's what Australia was. Yeah,
they
British
couldn't sail out of
their convicts.
Yeah,
and then they just refused to die, and they built cities.
Yeah, Alcatralia. What actually happened, and that's why Australia originally, I mean, nowadays with all political correctness, all the other stuff that goes along with that, Australians had a reputation, 20, I guess, years ago of being really anti-establishment type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason for all these convicts that came out from England, when their time was done, because they were sent here, if they wanted to go back to England, England had to pay their expenses, of course, or they had to send them back. So instead, they were just offered land grants. So if you stay here, we'll give you land. So Australia had that sort of, people in Australia were either British aristocracy, governors, rulers, or convicts. So that's why you had this really pushback sort of thing. But yeah, in the last 20 years with all the so far liberalisation, it's more inversion. And when you hear something now, to get any idea to anywhere close to the truth, you've got to completely invert it. Liberalism nowadays is communism. The Labor Party, see in Australia, we've got Labor and Liberal, which is like conservative and Labor or whatever. But the current dictator premier in Victoria, Daniel Andrews, like he's the Labor Party, and all these construction workers are out of work, and so, like, the Labor Party is supposed to be the Workers' Party. It's just, but we know, like, they're just both controlled by the same people. But getting back to what I was saying before with like numbers around the world, actually, I've gone off the track. I'll come back to that one. Oh no, I'll come back to that one.
That's all right, Bobafett. We are having some people chat in. It's good to see Clicks Money chatting in on Vim. We have
Hey Clicksy, how you going, bro? Clicksy and I go way back too.
Yeah, we all came together at about the same time, I think, near the beginning of YouTube. That's
remember so back like Clicks Money started de-cooperation, and it was and in fact, so de-cooperation, D-Daily, and One Love Tube. Do you remember a certain Canadian girl who just made so much trouble in all three of those channels? And I won't mention the names, but I think you know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
Crush. Yeah, so she caused a lot of damage before she left, and a lot of channels suffered for that. But he's been around a long time too.
I called her Kiwi.
Okay, yes.
That was my pet name for her. Yeah, the good old days when we could actually damage each other relative to what we were saying because we were all going somewhere at that point. That was a good time. I can't wait till we can get back to things like that when we're out in life and building and being normal. This COVID thing has got us all locked down, and I keep looking to other countries such as Australia to try figure out where we are going, because the things that are happening around me don't make sense to what ideas people are holding, the ideals they're holding, and then what we're actually wanting. We're kind of faced with three different scenarios all at once, and it's a big mixing pot. But I can kind of thankfully look to Australia as an example to prepare myself
what's to come.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that's where just this last couple weeks, I took some time to kind of think about things, and I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to really start a regular chat with Bobafett. I would love to make this a regular thing, because we are on the same wavelength on a lot of topics, like from our interest in conspiracy theories. You're even a philosopher.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm an it's fucking obvious theorist.
Yes, well, exactly. I don't like using that term either. Conspiracy theory is a term that has been taken over, like Deckard was saying. The term has been redefined. And it's been taken over.
Resist.
Well, you can't
redefining everything. I resist right now. Conspiracy theory simply means somebody has a theory that somebody is committing a conspiracy, period. It doesn't mean crazy people. It doesn't mean anything. It means there's a conspiracy, and we can't prove it. We can only say that we have a theory behind it. Like the whole idea that we're allowing them to tell us what words mean is just giving them more power. We made the words. We're the ones that made the dictionary. They're just the ones that tell us all where to move so that we don't get invaded. It's just maddening, because even they changed the definition of anti-vaxxer, which is insane, because I know plenty of people who just don't know right from wrong, up from down anymore because of the sheer amount of lies, who have all of their other vaccines, and they have the first and second dose of this vaccine, but they refuse to get anything more because they've been lied to for so long that they're like, I shouldn't even gotten this vaccine because I don't even know whether it's effective or not. Because in the beginning, at least here, we were told it's 100% effective. You may need one booster, and then that's it. That's all we'll ever force you to do. Now look what they're doing. It's absolutely insane. So I'm with Bobafett. I'm a normal person who just woke up a little while ago, and I'm looking around like, what the hell are you guys doing? Absolutely not. I'm not going along with this.
Declan, you just reminded me of what I was trying to think of earlier, as far as like, look at the narrative, the official narrative all over the world. They're all getting the same script. Like, name one time in known history. I mean, ancient history is bullshit as far as I'm concerned. That's been my main field of research for the last 30 years, is history. But in known history, last generation or two, when has every single country in the world all agreed on exactly the same thing? When has that ever happened?
It
Never. Hasn't.
Never, ever, not in ancient history, not in modern history. We can't agree on what to order off the menu, let alone where to go, you know?
Well, even though this is no longer a thing,
that would, yeah.
So you get 5 people that would go to the DVD store, or before that, the video store, just 5 people, and you can't even agree on what movie you're going to watch.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
I can name
got the same narrative.
Cultures. Yeah, a couple cultures that by fundamental belief system, they won't agree on anything. That if one was to choose as our religious sector, we're going to get the vaccine, the other one would literally turn around and be like, we're not getting the vaccine because you are. It doesn't matter whether or not their health or anybody's safety is involved, or tyranny or anything. It's literally comes down to a belief system of like, well, we believe the opposite of you, therefore we're just going to do the opposite. Like,
yeah, well, like, what about those Eastern medicine people who are like, listen, I really don't care about your Western medicine. It's part of my religion to not have this shit pumped into me. So if that kills me, then that kills me. And they've already come out and said that if you get the COVID vaccine, you're not immune from getting it. It just means that it's not going to hurt you as badly. Well, okay, great, fine and dandy. Then why do I care if this religious person doesn't get it? Because as far as I understand now, as we know now, I was always going to get it. It was only a matter of how much do I personally want to suffer. So what the hell are we doing beating people in the face with fucking rifles if all it does is harm them and overwhelm, quote unquote, overwhelm the system? But like, even that seems to be false. So like I said, people just don't know up from down anymore because we've been lied to for so long. Like the divisiveness is incredible because the government here, at least, is telling us, point at all of the unvaccinated and pretend like they're subhuman. Pretend like they must die. They're evil people. They're just crazy. Don't listen to them. Blindly follow, quote unquote, the science. And
the science,
wow,
but
I don't.
The trick there is the spelling. Begin? So they're not spouting science, SCIENCE. Their science is spelled PSY. Science.
The science over here is actually spelled FAUCCI.
Yeah, he has a lot of influence here too. But I've actually still got a clip from 60 Minutes when Fauci's saying there's absolutely no reason anyone should be wearing masks.
Yeah. So right. No, and then like 2 or 3 days later, or whatever it was, oh, everybody should be wearing masks. Actually, double mask,
2 masks,
triple mask. It's just common sense. But my point is,
the narrative stopped suddenly. Then I think they must have realized how ridiculous that sounded.
And then they backtracked. Now they're playing like we never said it at all. But my thing is, Fauci's an American. What is he doing telling Australia and Canada what to do? What the hell does England care about what Dr. Fauci in America has to say? Isn't that curious that we're all looking to America for the answers when we have our own perfectly good scientists?
And also thanks to Hollywood, and, you look at especially some of the apocalyptic movies that have come out later, where the last half hour of the movie is the rush to get the vaccine. And then, okay, we need to test someone. And all the alpha males go, oh, me. Yeah, it's the build up to that, and a lot of people don't even realise that the CDC is simply what do they do? They sell vaccines. They've got like 58 patents on vaccines. They sell $50 billion a year in the US alone in vaccines, and they're actually telling everyone what's going on. And then you got the WHO with that criminal from ex-Ethiopian health minister who was sacked for covering up stuff going on in Ethiopia. He's the head of the WHO, and who put him there? Bill Gates. And you look at Bill Gates, so you heard like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is an umbrella for all sorts of stuff. And he's such a philanthropist. He's giving away millions and millions of dollars. But all of these companies that he's giving it to are actually part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust. So all Bill is doing is taking money out of his left pocket and putting it into his right pocket and going, I'm such a philanthropist. And another interesting turn on that alone, Bill Gates was actually the first person to invent a computer virus. He did it as a practical joke at university. He shut down all of their servers. And then, of course, he made millions selling antivirus software for all these viruses that were suddenly coming out. And so now he's just moved into the biological virus industry. And like, who fucking made him? Like, doctors can't speak on the news, but Bill Gates can say whatever he likes. I don't know if you've seen that interview recently. It was covered here on Sky News. And like they're saying it's actually talking about Jeffrey Epstein. And the interview, I can link you this as well if you like. The interviewer is saying to him, in hindsight, is there any lessons to be learned? What's your take? Because of Bill's association with Epstein. What's your take on that? And Bill's answer was, well, he's dead. So I guess in general, you've got to be more careful. And Alex is like, what?
Who cares? We killed him. We killed him so we won't have to ask this question. Wow. Unbelievable.
He just doesn't care anymore. He's bought everyone that can be bought.
Why would you care if you're bulletproof, man? Look, they can do whatever they want. Some of the shit I've seen the government say and then just walk away unscathed. It's like, are you kidding me? They just said that on live TV and nobody cares. And,
they don't have to hide it anymore.
What the big thing is, going to the chat, somebody was saying they're making old people scared of everything. I don't think that's the goal. I think the goal is to make everybody scared of everything so that they can convince them that daddy government is here to protect them. And it's just like, this is such an incredibly bad idea, because what you're trying to do is establish a communist government inside of the free world, which is basically dividing basically the whole world into two camps, the extreme left and the extreme right. And my question for them is, what's your end goal? Because you're not curing COVID with this. What you're doing is you're undermining democracy and you're getting rid of all of our essential liberties in the name of what? So the bigger question is, what is the end goal here after all of this destruction?
It's the mark of the beast.
I've got to go still with the depopulation. It's the only thing that makes sense. And more inversion, like with the masks. Clixie just brought up masks, which is a very good point. The holes in those masks are 60 times larger than a virus particle. So they're not doing anything there. All they're doing is letting you coat the inside of your mask with all your snot, your germs, and the shit that your body's working really hard to expel, and then you're sucking it back in again. And on just hypoxia alone, if you were, I think it's 200, or about somewhere between 2 and 2.5 hours of wearing a mask gives you hypoxia to an equivalent degree of having a 0.05 blood alcohol level. Now, if you get pulled over in Australia with a 0.05 blood alcohol level, you're arrested on the spot, thrown in jail, and your car's impounded for 6 months. And now we've got hundreds of thousands of people driving around with masks on.
Well, and of course, they're super busy, so they don't have time to hear your explanation of why you might actually be right. You're guilty simply because I don't have time to figure out whether or not you're not. But even more to that point, somebody else mentioned to me, it's all through water droplets, right? That's how it's spread. So if you're breathing into your mask all this humidity and you're coughing and you're gagging, I go up to reach on my mask just to pull it off my face for a second. I've now put wet all over my hand, which I'm now going to touch everything else with.
Yeah.
So you just what good is it really? It prevents you from sneezing. That's it. But you're
Yeah.
already doing everything else wrong. So I don't know. These
Well,
masks
it's
are a little
even
weird.
scientific studies, like actual science. Doctors like wearing the mask gives you a prime candidate for both brown lung disease and bacterial pneumonia. In fact,
Yeah.
here's one for you. I can link you this as well. And if the link's gone, I've actually saved it to my hard drive. Fauci co-authored a paper on the Spanish flu where he concluded that up to 80% of deaths that were from the Spanish flu were actually bacterial pneumonia from people wearing masks. This is a paper that Fauci co-authored. And because they were being misdiagnosed, they weren't getting the antibiotics. If they'd say, oh, yeah, it's bacterial pneumonia, shot of antibiotics, they're fine. But because, it's the Spanish flu,
That's
he
ridiculous.
says 80% of the deaths were actually bacterial pneumonia from people wearing masks. It's one of Fauci's papers.
Well, it starts to make a little bit more sense as to why he's asking people not to wear masks, and then all of a sudden, government comes down and tells him not to say that, and he reverses his stance. But you mentioned
Bill,
something that I wanted to.
Bill pulls his pocket money back.
Right. You were talking about how you saved things to your hard drive. I think that's incredibly important, and I wanted to just say that on live stream for everybody that's listening. Anything you watch these days that you think is even remotely interesting, download it to your machine, put it into IPFS, put it everywhere. Because even this Dr. Fauci don't wear a mask thing, I was having a conversation with somebody in real life, and I told them no word of a lie. That's what I saw. I saw it with my own eyes. I told them I'll look it up on YouTube right now to show you exactly what happened. And interestingly enough, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it because the search algorithms told me that I'm not allowed to find it anymore. So you got to be very careful of how they're going to use technology to cover it all up to make you look like you're insane so that they can throw you in jail. So keep copies, save it other places, send it to your friends. That way we got it. It can't go anywhere.
Yeah. And I've got folders on my Brave browser. When I find something interesting or that's good for a future video, I just bookmark. And then when I go to do the video, I go back, click on it, it's not available, or it's gone.
Yep, they scrub it.
More and more now, it's changed. It's completely changed. They're saying something entirely different on the same link. So, downloading is so important.
Well, the government's forcing them to change it based off of their fact-checking systems. Well, if you want to know how effective these fact-checking systems are, take a look at
fact checkers.
And that's what they're doing across the whole internet. The Facebook employs private companies to determine whether or not our speech is free speech, and then they don't even check to see what the company says. They just take what the company says and enforce it on their platform right away, and that's by law. So it's not even the fault of the platform; it's the fault of the government. So like it's just like, how could this happen in the free world? I don't get it.
I mean, I'm definitely not a Biden fan, but wasn't necessarily a Trump fan either. I'm not a fan of government, to be quite honest. But government, from the Latin gubernere, which is mind control. I'm not a fan of government at all. But where was I going with that? Something Trump said. I'll come back to that one later too. Unless someone might have an idea of where I was going. Oh, yeah. Like 2 years ago, could you imagine like Twitter, Facebook, some tech company censoring the president of the United States?
Right?
Banning.
Oh my God.
Could you have imagined that 2 years ago?
Any other time in history, there would be bloodbaths, absolute bloodbaths in the streets. Like pre-1900, if you had said that sort of thing, you were censoring the president, people would literally grab their guns and start burning down the White House. Nowadays, we're going, oh, it's for our own good. Well, what the hell are you talking about? I personally think that something that's in the dark is a lot harder to defend against than something that's in the light. So by banning people, you're throwing them into the dark. You're making them go underground and coming back full force, if that is indeed what you believe. I don't believe for a second that he should have been banned, but even if you do, where's the logic? There's absolutely no logic in anything that they say, which leads me to believe that it's all some kind of political chess game.
Yeah, the only benefit, the only reason for doing that, is look what we can do. It was
Yeah,
a
pretty much.
statement.
And
It
we
was a
should be
statement. Look what we
scared
can do.
shitless. If they can do that to him, they could do that to thousands of us just as easily.
Mm-hmm.
So just to interject here, we got Clicks Money in chat dropping a link for 35 gigabytes of documents and pictures. A lot of information on all of this that's going on. Anybody that happens to listen in, you can find that. I'll add it to the description of this live show afterwards. But yeah, that's just one effort. 35 gigabytes of information. Just one collection of information. Now imagine how many people there are gathering information. You know, we got Dev Deckard Kane, who his thing is backing up information. Myself, where when I come across things, I back it up because I want to be able to use it within my videos. Imagine Bobafett, same thing with you. I see all your videos have clips and all of that stuff, so you got to be downloading stuff.
Yep.
How many gigabytes of information in the world right now is focused just on COVID and all the craziness and trying to reveal the truth? That's a really huge number, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and just the level of censorship, again, unprecedented. Just like all governments in the world agreeing, this level of censorship combined with all of the silicon, it's just unprecedented. It's equivalent, basically, of digital book banning is what's going on at the moment.
Oh, and it's way worse. Like, honestly, we talk about history. I don't think that there is anything that I can point to that can even remotely come to compare to this situation, because it is so awe-inspiring that every single first world country would be willing to ditch everything they've ever stood for. But also, to your point, everybody in the world agrees that we should be censoring quote unquote stupid people from themselves. They actually believe that if we watch this material, that we're not smart enough to determine for ourselves what we would like to believe in and what we wouldn't, which leads to an ultimate subservience. They want our brain, period. And how on earth did you get every country to believe this? That's
bought and paid for.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Because even the idea, like, they keep going after peace in the Middle East, but like Dookie said, some people are just by default. They don't want to work with you. It's part of their thing. They don't like us. That's the reality. So we're willing to accept those realities, but somehow we're able to do this. And it certainly is now one of the most important times, for me at least, to really open up my drives and let people save things forever.
And that whole cultural thing, you go back as far as in history. Okay, you've got the Arabs and the Jews, and then in Europe you've got the Greeks and the Turks, and then you've got India and Pakistan. So this is what was at one point a unified country where NWA have just drawn a line on the map and says, okay, you're now this country, you're now that country. Mortal enemies. Like that, if one says yes, the other will just say no, just for the sake of it. But no, they're all in complete agreement and doing the same thing. It's like
right, and like all these government systems have been designed around that premise, that we're not always going to agree, that there are the radical left and the radical right, and we've established the first worlds so as to make it so that we can all have a democratic system that'll lead us all towards the common good. So if we all built these systems based on that notion, how are we able to now say, like, I've actually met some people who are my age that legitimately believe that all of history pre-now is completely useless because they're stupid. Anything that's ever happened, they're just too dumb to understand what happened to them. So there simply are no lessons to be learned from history. And so we must start anew, because this whole idea that we'll never get along is obviously false. and they believe in this utopia where everybody's going to get along. And I kind of think that that's what this is. This is the experiment to see if we can get along, and we're not ever, because it's been tens of thousands of years of us killing each other.
Hey, if I just make a quick suggestion, I'm happy I can keep going longer if you like, but my bladder has reached its limit. Maybe if you guys just chat or maybe answer some questions that have come up in the live feed, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Is that cool?
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
We'll
All right.
we'll just probably close it up shortly after that.
Okay.
Basically, today we just have Clicks chatting in. So, Clicks, if you got any questions for us today, anybody else? I see somebody on Twitch. We got somebody on D Live, somebody else on VK, and nobody on YouTube or Facebook. If you guys got any questions for us, feel free to shoot. We'll do our best. Anything for Bobafett about the craziness of Down Under. Yeah, he is just going to use the restroom. Here, I'll put myself up. There you go. You got the dookie. It has been quite the event. Oh, 231 watching. Dang, I don't got those statistics on my restream. Thank you. 231 views. Thank you guys for watching. Yeah, that's
Holy cow. Hi, everybody.
That's Vim. That's Vim right there. That's Vim going to the Hive blockchain, which is the reason why I love Hive. Let's get back to the One Love community. We are very Hive centric. We came from Steam. We branded ourselves to DTube. And during the split from Steam to Hive, when the fork happened, we lost ourselves for a while. And we stuck with DTube. And DTube kind of got all mixed up in the split between Steam and Hive. DTube decided to reject Hive. And now it's adopted Hive. Meanwhile, One Love kind of tried to find its own path. And we've sort of always remained Hive-centric. You know, tech coders building tools for the Hive blockchain. Soon to come, a live protocol, truly decentralized live streaming, guys. A world's first. Not a single nother. Not even Vim. Vim doesn't do decentralized live streaming. You know, it's not going straight to the IPFS and backed up forever. That's going to be a One Love community creation, guys. And I'm super proud to announce that for you. Welcome back. I was just babbling about what's coming for the One Love community, a little bit about our upcoming Alive protocol. We have some people watching on VK, 231 watching on Vim. That's impressive views. So giant shout out to everybody there. Other than that, it's basically it for today, I think, guys. We've had a good chat. I'm very happy to have you with us today, Bobafett.
I'm happy to be here today too after this afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just re-encapsulate that again as an ending note with a silver lining for people. We might be speaking out about COVID, but we recognize the good when it happens. So your event this morning, could you just reiterate it briefly for us?
Yeah. So I was sitting on a bench outside because with the lockdown situation at the moment in Melbourne, all the cafes, restaurants, there's no dine-in. You can only do takeaway. So I was sitting outside on a bench when a car came crashing through a Perspex barrier, ploughing into the bench that I was sitting on. Only lightning reflexes and possibly divine intervention saved him from having both legs cut off at the knee. But the area he ploughed through, and this is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, if we were not in lockdown, that area would have been packed with tables and chairs families, kids even, like having lunch. And he would have plowed through probably 2 tables on his path, could have certainly killed or seriously maimed 5 or 6 people if we were not in that lockdown situation. So a bit of a, as you say, a silver lining in a dark situation.
Yeah, exactly. And a great note to end on, that we have you again for future shows.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll just reiterate again, if I've said anything at all in this video that you'd like more information on, links, or where the data is no longer online, if I can upload to WeTransfer, you can either hit me up on Discord or drop a comment on any of my posts, just if you want to get in contact with me. I'm always very, very happy to engage with the community.
Yeah, just drop right into the One Love community, guys. Links are in any
speaking
of
of dropping, gonna drop one. Yo, it's changing times, emotional flow, man. I'm all confused. I don't know where to go. TV says this, but my gut says that. I need to talk, man. I really need to chat. Am I all alone in the way that I feel, or are there others too who know what's real? Because I'm sick of this game that my government's playing. I don't even listen to the words that they're saying. If I can see the lips moving, I know that they're lying. I mean, fuck, man, and no longer even trying. They just lie to your face and they further debate lockdowns, mask wearing, all the shit that you hate. Now, enough is enough. It's time to wake up. It's time for change, man. We need a new plan. The one that we got, it ain't working for me. It was designed by criminals to suit their own needs. Yeah, Bobafett, that's what you get on the One Love community, if you feel me.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Right.
And that's it for today. Thank you for watching.
See you guys.
Oh, guys.
I can do the click, but I can't disappear.